bold, and we're counting on Michael Reagan to help educate America. I want to welcome tonight our good Lieutenant Governor, Sean Parnell, whom I can't see, but I know he's here. Sean Parnell. My brother Jeff Heath is here, and my husband, Alaska's first dude, Todd Palin, is here somewhere. So I have the honor of getting to speak with you for a bit here before I get to introduce to you Michael Reagan. And what I'm going to do in introducing Michael is continue to encourage him to continue to be bold and to call it like he sees it, and just screw the political correctness that some would expect him to have to adhere to. We want him to be bold. We need him to be bold. Mr. Reagan, we need your voice to be loud and strong, and we appreciate him. He doesn't shy away from the tough issues, and that is so good. He never lets anyone tell him to sit down and shut up. And I would hope, Alaska, that our voice, too, will be heard across this nation. I look forward to hearing from Michael Reagan tonight, because America must learn from him, from his remarkable father and that remarkable presidency. First, I think what we're going to learn tonight via Michael is that Ronald Reagan's ideas were the right ideas. And all we have to do is look back at his record, his economic record and his national security record, to know that his ideas were right. It was common sense conservatism. It was right then, it's right now. Recently, Newt Gingrich, he had written a good article about Reagan. He said, regarding your dad, Michael, he said that we need to learn from his example that courage and persistence are keys to his historic achievement. And with Reagan's example, DC politicians calling the shots for our country, they had better rely on the good sense of the American people and bag the reliance on the entrenched bureaucrats and the elite self-proclaimed intellectuals and the smug lobbyists who dominate Washington, and the liberal media that is imposing its will on Washington, embracing that status quo, that business as usual. It's not good for our country. But we have to remember first that Ronald Reagan never won any arguments in Washington. He won the arguments by resonating with the American people. Those of us so proud to be Americans and willing to acknowledge that no, we're not a perfect nation, but never, never do we have to apologize for being proud of our country. So Ronald Reagan spoke to us then, with us. Here in our hearts is where he reached us, and that's where he won the arguments. And then, this was the good part, and then we, the American people, through him, we imposed our will on Washington, and that is the way it's supposed to be. Our government is supposed to be working for us. We are not to be working for our government. It is our will to be imposed on Washington. He captured our hearts so he could effect positive change by, well, what he did. He focused on our kids, on our children, on their future, on the future of America. And when he fought socialism and any sort of tyranny that he knew would ruin us, he stood strong on his knowing that the framework through which he'd lead to that positive change, that framework for our kids, it was freedom. Today, the things that some in Washington would do to take away our freedoms, it's absolutely astounding. And we would do so well to look back at those Reagan years as he championed the cause for freedom, and then he lived it out as our president. Cheerfully, persistently, and unapologetically. Reagan knew that real change requiring shaking things up and maybe taking off the entrenched interest thwarting the will of the people with their ignoring of our concerns about future peril caused by selfish, short-sighted advocacy for growing government and digging more debt and taking away individual and states' rights and hampering opportunity to responsibly develop our resources, and coddling those who'd seek to harm America and her allies. What Newt had written in this article, he wrote, "Remember how refreshing it was with his outrageous directness that Americans loved and craved and deserved, that Reagan dealt with then the troublesome Soviet Union. Remember this? His vision for the Cold War: we win, they lose. And with détente, speaking of détente, he used two words: evil empire. He called it like he saw it. And now, why today, I have to ask, why today do we feel we have to kind of pussyfoot around our troublesome foes? Say, for example, the terrorists who still seek to kill Americans and destroy our allies. They haven't changed their tune. Terrorists are still dead set against us and are set on destroying Israel and against our freedoms, against our security. And I've got a kid over there fighting for our country and our country's freedom right now. It is war over there, so it will not be war over here, and it had better still be our mission that we win, they lose. Reagan used to remind us that America was built on freedom and free enterprise, reward for strong work ethic. Some in Washington would approach our economic woes in ways that absolutely defy Economics 101, and they fly in the face of the principles of providing opportunity for industrious Americans to succeed or to fail on their own accord. Those principles that we teach our children and we employ in our own businesses and our own households to balance our budgets and live within our means and financially secure our futures. And it makes you wonder what the heck some in Washington are really trying to accomplish here. Since when can you get out a huge national debt by creating trillions of dollars of new debt? It all really is so backwards and skewed as to sound like absolute nonsense when some of this new economic policy is explained. How do you put more Americans to work as you disincentivize business with threats of taking them over or bailing them out for decisions that they've made, and increasing taxes, because that's the only way that the new administration is going to pay for the outrageous government growth that has been laid upon us? New taxes is the only way to pay for all this. All that, it shoos away the jobs into foreign countries, and it makes us more reliant on countries that lent us the money that we got to borrow to try to sustain this new government largesse that our kids and their kids and their kids are going to have to pay for. And we are a selfish bunch to allow this to happen to America's future. Someone is going to have to pay the piper. And we're seeing our national trade balance get really so out of whack that we need to employ Reaganism, or we're going to be headed away from being the wealthiest, most industrious, healthiest, and most generous nation on the earth to having the highest negative trade balance of any nation, and then this erosion of free market opportunities to build and to create and to innovate. And this shift is really not only economically preposterous, but really, if you think about it, it's immoral. Does anybody remember life, liberty, the pursuit of happiness? Because socialism, any kind of hint towards socialism, it takes away freedoms and opportunity and hope. And then we do forget that life, liberty, the pursuit of happiness, those inherent rights that God has provided us.